evening, everybody. My name's Tom Stoukas, coming to you from Sarnia, Ontario, on April 8th today. It's April 8th. So we're covering the Canadian election, and it seems the polls are tightening today. Latest poll today shows the Liberals are ahead by about 5 points. And so Pierre's starting to land some of his attacks are starting to stick to Carney. So some of the hits are starting to land on him, and like particularly his, you know, tax avoidance, let's say, schemes with Brookfield Management or tax havens. You know, a lot of rich people use them. So he's really Pierre's pressing him on that, and then maybe that's just a shine off the Carney kind of honeymoon is coming off a bit. So it looks like it's going to be a close race, and yeah, 3 weeks to go, a little less than 3 weeks to go, and see what goes on. But that's the big, I guess the big takeaway from today is the how it's tightening, and really don't know which way it's going to go. The debates are next week, so that should be interesting. If there's any, like, sometimes there's some dramatic moments at debates that help decide the elections. So that's about it. There's a bunch of stuff, but I don't know. It just seems like it's the same day in, day out, the same BS. But it's going to be close, and I think it's just a matter of turnout. And I was looking at a few interesting things today. The support for the Liberals is predominantly the 55 and over crowd, so the boomers, I guess. And the support for the Conservatives is more the younger crowd. That's, disaffected by the years of the Liberal policies. So it's going to be really an election of turnout, who can turn out, because traditionally the 55 and over, that's their thing. They turn out for every election. And if they're like old and they're in a home, they bring the election to them. And it's like a vacuum cleaner of votes. And they don't necessarily vote for one party, but they vote. That's the thing. The turnout in that demographic is very, very high. As you get the lower demographics, turnout gets lower, and to the point where it's by the time you get to the lowest, like the 18 to 20, whatever, barely any of them vote. But that's the difference with Trump. In the States, he got people to vote that would never, ever have voted. Same with Obama. Obama did that a little bit too. But Trump really did it. Like, he made politics into like WWF, so people actually are interested in politics. Hence, then they vote. Where I don't think Pierre has that same effect on voters here, on the voters that support him. So he's got to get them out to vote, and if they think, he's not going to win, they won't go out to vote. So, whereas the other side has a more dedicated voter turnout base. So, if it's a close election, that's really what it comes down to. Like, I know a lot of people that don't vote. They hate the way things are, but they don't vote either because they don't think their vote makes a difference, or they don't think the system's, they don't want to, they're apathetic to the whole political system. or they're just lazy. Some of them are just lazy. They don't want to, can't be bothered. Okay. The 55 and over, that's like the highlight of their day. Like they meet people there, they talk. Hey, how's it going? Then they go for coffee after and they talk. Like they don't miss those votes. So that's where I think Pierre's at the disadvantage. Another thing we're looking at is the map. And I gotta find this. But Eastern Canada. I was looking at the map with Quebec and Ontario and the Atlantic provinces. And Carney, if he wins like 60% of those seats, basically, so that's, and some of the territories, that's basically 140 seats. Just for Eastern Canada, 60% of the seats is 140. Obviously, Ontario is the major one. There's about 100 in the west, so BC, Alberta, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan. There's about 100. I knew exactly 124 seats or something. All Carney has to do is pick off like 29 of those seats out of the whole Western Canada, and he gets a majority if he wins 60% of the seats in Eastern Canada and 25% of the seats in Western Canada. So that's where the battle is going to be. Is basically Ontario. Like Quebec is pretty pro Carney, so the Conservatives, it's a write-off. You notice Pierre hasn't gone to Quebec much. And the East Coast, even if they split the East Coast, it's only 15 seats each. So the prize is Ontario, 140 something seats. So whoever wins 80 out of the 140 or 90 out of the 140 is the winner. Because obviously Conservatives are going to do well in the West. Liberals will do well in Quebec and decent in Atlantic Canada. So Ontario is going to decide this election. And it doesn't matter what crowd size Pierre has in wherever, Alberta or even in Ontario. Well, Ontario, yeah, it does matter, I guess. I mean, or I don't know where he had it. He had one in Edmonton. Now he's in Sault Ste. Anyway, crowd size, all that. What matters is Ontario in this particular election. So if he doesn't like it, that's what I'm watching, and I luckily I live in Ontario, so I can have a closer view. So that's I think is the way it's shaping up, because Pierre's strong in the West, Carney's strong in Quebec. They split Atlantic Canada, and that's generous. Like Liberals could take all of Atlantic Canada, but there's not that many seats. So the question is Ontario now. Doug Ford's the premier of Ontario, progressive conservative, and he's basically thrown his lot in with the Liberals. Like he's governed with them, and he's got a very frosty relationship with Pierre Poilievre, and his advisors, his puppet masters, have even undermined the campaign. Like they've gone public with their criticism when they could have like said to the campaign quietly or just said nothing. So that's an interesting dynamic. Is Doug Ford, like, how actively is he sabotaging the campaign? Is it just passively or very active? So yeah, I think now we have the tightening of the polls, but my opinion, the poll that really matters is Ontario. Like, we have to find some Ontario polls, because that's the, and it doesn't sound fair to people in Alberta. I get it. Why Ontario always decides the elections, I get it, but it's true. But there's so much more population in Ontario. Once you leave Ontario, it's like an empty country. Sorry, it is. But obviously, I can understand why they want independence if they see every election is decided before they even vote or before their polls even close. I can imagine how frustrating that is for the west of the country, like Western Canada. But yeah, this is going to be just this election is going to be decided by Ontario, one way or the other. It's my opinion, because it's really it's like literally the only swing province, I guess, that matters. There might be other swing provinces, but this one's the one that matters. All right. So that's just where it's heading, I think. So we got to find some polls on Ontario. So let's see what we did today on the daily X experience. All right, here we go. Start of the day. All right. First picture of the day, first post of the day. This giant lard weighs more than the horse. So yeah, apparently this is down south somewhere. I don't know why the guy really needed the money. I don't even know why they bother. Anyway, I thought that was funny. I just wanted to look at the horse's face. Look at the poor horse. He's like, no. I think the horse knew there's no way she was getting up there. So the look on the horse's face says it all. Went from the horse's face to the demon's face here. Netanyahu in Washington. A lot of people are guessing. A lot of guessing going on how this thing went with Netanyahu. His visit to Washington ahead, whether they're going to start a war with Iran or not. So it's kind of hard to determine by his face here.
Iran's best interests if they are successful. We're having direct talks with Iran, and they've started. It'll go on Saturday. We have a very big meeting, and we'll see what can happen. And I think everybody agrees that doing a deal would be preferable.
He doesn't look very happy with that.
And the obvious is not something that I want to be involved with, or frankly, that Israel wants to be involved with if they can avoid it. So we're going to see if we can avoid it. But it's getting to be very dangerous territory. And hopefully those talks will be successful. And I think it would be in Iran's best interest if they are successful. We hope that's going to happen.
Interesting. Yeah. We don't need a war with Iran for sure. He probably wants a war with Iran. Look at this devil. Demon. I thought this next video was cute. The gorilla's watching the iPad. Crazy. Oh, she's telling him next video. Look, he's getting comfortable now. Oh my god. And I say, Planet of the Apes is not so far-fetched. And like, seriously, if you give the apes iPads, give it 5 years, they'll be on X throwing ape shit everywhere. Another animal video. We got like a bunch of animal videos this morning. We got a theme going. Dog's reaction to human kiss. I like dogs. I miss my dog. Oh. Oh. She's a little too intimate with the dog, it looks like. All right.
Information about
This one's cute. I like that. That was the first one. Oh. All right. Dogs are awesome, yes. So here's Netanyahu again. Demon Netanyahu does look disappointed. Time will tell. So it says Trump announces that's what we just heard, but direct talks with Iran to avoid war, crushing Tel Aviv's escalation dreams. The man who beat the drums of war is now watching his planned collapse on live TV. Diplomacy just slapped Netanyahu in the face. No war, no green light, just disappointment. We'll find out. I don't know. Time will tell if Netanyahu gets his way, because he's been pushing for years. Oh my gosh, we got a lot of stuff here. All right, next post. That was the other day, the Humboldt Broncos bus crash. Holy, April 6, 2018. Horrible day for the families. Next one. This is an interesting story. So on Toronto, there's a statue of John A. McDonald's boxed up. They boxed it up because the woke crowd wanted to get rid of it, and so instead of getting rid of it, they just box it up. And this guy spray painted a Free John on it, on the cardboard or the plywood. And they charged him, I guess. So obviously it's ridiculous because we have a lot of criminals that need attention in the court system, but also the cultural aspect, like a lot of protesters for other causes get away with a lot more than this, and the cops don't even touch them. So this poor guy's getting dragged through. Let's see. I'm going to watch this video.
The vision,
by Greg Wycliffe.
160, 70, 80 years ago, to have a uniform.
All right.
In a small act of rebellion, I went back to the statue in front of Queen's Park, and I wrote on the box, "Free John." The real ridiculous irony of this all is after I was held for 2 hours in a dusty sort of basement cell at Queen's Park, and they let me go, as I was walking home, it had already been painted over. Wow. So the groundskeeper at Queen's Park was dispatched, probably one coat of paint, and it was already gone.
and when they cover up that message so quickly, what do you think kind of message that sends to the public?
It tells the public, it tells people like me and you and every rational, normal person that the government doesn't have our best interests at heart. The government is pandering to activists, to people who have a warped worldview and a warped view of our country. And if we continue to sort of pander to them and accommodate them, then the decline of Canada will only accelerate. What I care about is that our founding father of our nation, Sir John A. Macdonald, who unified the colonies, created the amazing intra-provincial railway to connect the provinces, and it resonates today because even today there's issues between commerce and trade between the provinces. This is all metaphorical and symbolic, that the one man who had the vision 160, 70, 80 years ago to have a unified country is being boxed up, and the person who's trying to free him and defend his honor is being persecuted by the state.
The Sir Egerton Ryerson statue, the Queen Victoria statue, and countless Sir John A. Macdonald statues have been defaced, destroyed, or torn down in broad daylight by radical far-left activists. And in many cases, no charges were laid. I asked Daniel how he feels about this worrying trend in comparison to the Canada Strong and Canada First messaging we're hearing from Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre, respectively, during this election cycle.
Well, I've been speaking to a lot of people, and a lot of people feel it's hollow. And I would say to all political leaders, put your money where your mouth is. You know, like, we don't need empty sloganeering. You know, we need action. And the fact remains that not one political leader yet has stood up for me and what I did. We haven't heard anything from our municipal leaders, provincial leaders, or the current federal.
Yeah, and I appreciate you for having the courage to take a risk. To, you know, just to simply write a message.
Well,
right?
I think it goes to show how, you know, disillusioned and frustrated I and so many Canadians are. You know, like, I've worked my whole life, I've paid taxes my whole life. This is not what I normally do, but the country is in such a poor state of affairs that normal citizens like myself are doing these little acts of rebellion to send a message. And so the message is out. I hope it reverberates across the country because we're now in an election cycle, and now is the pivotal moment to decide what direction this country is going to go in.
Very interesting. I find it funny because this is a Queen's Park, the provincial legislature. Doug Ford, he's acting all like Canada rah-rah, defending Canada's honor. Yet he has our prime minister, who's like kind of like our George Washington, boxed up in shame, hidden in shame. So that's a question, is this guy's getting dragged through court. Meanwhile, Doug Ford's acting like Team Canada, and meanwhile he's hiding, he's basically canceled our founding prime minister. And you know, he's not a perfect guy. We should definitely discuss his mistakes and any bad things that he might have been involved in, you know, is in historical retrospect. But the minute you start erasing your culture like they did with Dundas Square, Sankova Square, I'm going to call it Dundas Square forever, and now getting rid of John A. Macdonald and whatever, Ryerson, and all these erasing of your history is like right out of the communist playbook, you know, holy. And Doug Ford, not a word. And you know, Mark Carney, I expect not to say anything, because that's their whole thing, is post-national state, getting rid of Canada. So, but Doug Ford, he's the premier. He's got a majority. You know, he called the guy who got kicked out of the Blue Jays game for wearing a Canada's Not For Sale hat, and he said, "Oh, don't ever take that hat off." It's like, but he covers up John A. Macdonald, no problem. And he could say, "Oh, it's bureaucrat decision, not mine." Oh no, you're the premier, you can do it. And then Pierre, I don't think he's ever said anything about it, Pierre. At least not that I've heard. So, I mean, it's a statue, but it means more. It's more than just a statue. the fact that they're throwing this guy through the coals is ridiculous. Anyway, we'll keep an eye on his case. Like, that should have been thrown out. Like, it's ridiculous. All right. Nothing. Oh, I lost my feed here. Just give me 1 second. So yeah, it just shows a priority. Just like they drag the convoy people through the court system, they're dragging this guy through the court system for nothing. It just shows where the priorities of this country are. Next post, we're talking about the big conservative rally in Edmonton. Huge rally, This is the thing with the crowd size is getting a little weird. Like, it's kind of like Trump and Kamala, which is exactly like it. Like, they have the video of the crowd sizes, whatever, But anyway, they better get a massive crowd. Edmonton's like their head, like, it's their that's their home base. That's where all their support, their hardcore support is. So if they didn't get a big crowd, that would have been a story. But it's kind of like, it seemed like a little campaign reset. They're saying, why would you bother campaigning in Alberta? But it looks like they just wanted to do a reset and get a big splash, and after maybe a couple bad weeks of the campaign. But they're going a little crazy over it because, I mean, it was a no-brainer that they'd get a lot of people, especially that because it doesn't usually happen during federal election campaigns. Conservatives usually don't focus too much on Alberta because they already have it in the bag. So John Rotten here says, let me get this straight. A huge crowd in Alberta means polls are lying. Election is typically called by the time Albertans even vote. Probably because the GTA has more ridings than the entire province of Alberta. This means nothing. So we had Mr. Rotten throwing some cold water on the Conservatives celebrating. And I said, it's funny watching these guys celebrate getting a big crowd in the epicenter of Conservative support. Meanwhile, Doug Ford is actively working to hand Ontario to Liberals, which is crazy, like, they can congratulate themselves all they want on their crowd. Like I said before, it's Ontario that's going to decide it. And then there's Doug Ford, next post here. He's helping Ontario. He's going to lower the price of booze. So we buy 15% discount, wholesale discount for bars, restaurants, and convenience stores to 15%. So the bars will pay less, but they're not going to change their price for the customer probably. So let's save in the bars and small businesses, I guess. But I said all this fat trader Doug Ford talks about is making booze easier and cheaper to get. Ontario's screwed with this clown. It's like, first of all, booze is horrible for you. It's so bad for you. But it's illegal. It's legal here, but that's literally all he talks about. He's like, buck a beer in the supermarket, beer in the variety store, beer, cheap beer, this and that, whatever. Taking the booze off, the American booze off the shelves. Everything's booze with this guy. Look at him. He's probably drinks every day. Look at him. He's fat and out of shape. So, yeah. Booze. Next post. This little bad weather in April. So a lot of people get fooled. They think, okay, spring is here and it's winter's over, and then we get a little gust of wind and snow, and this happens. Look at that, eh? A lot of accidents. Is it me, or are there more truck accidents on the road than there were years ago? All right, next post. This is good. This is my pet peeve with Pierre. He keeps saying the Canadian promise is that anybody from anywhere can do anything. He keeps saying it. It's in his campaign commercials. It's like the first line of his campaign commercial. And it basically saying anybody can come from anywhere and do anything they want in Canada. And I said, if Pierre loses this election, it'll be because of this globalist talking point message, which he repeats constantly. If you look at Pierre's immigration comments in the past, he may turn us into India faster than Mark Carney. Yeah, like, oh, it's ridiculous, man. There's so much same, the parties. It's like, people are like, we got to vote conservative, we got to get rid of the liberals. But literally, he's just as bad on the immigration file as the liberals. Let's see some of this. Why am I not getting audio here? Oh.
System in the world. We will restore the best immigration system in the world. Speaking of healthcare, we've got 20,000 immigrant doctors, 32,000 immigrant nurses in Canada today who cannot work because they can't get a license. We will create in the professions what we did as a country in the trades 7 decades ago. We will create a national licensing standard. Provinces can voluntarily adopt a blue seal so immigrant doctors and nurses can take a test, prove they're qualified, and get to work reducing those wait times in our hospitals. And when they get here, they will see that the Canadian promise is restored. A promise that anyone from anywhere can do anything, where it doesn't matter where you come from.
There it is. He says it. He said it again.
And when they get here...
Oh, he says this all the time. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. He says this all the time.
They will see that the Canadian promise is restored. A promise that anyone from anywhere can do anything. Where it doesn't matter where you come from. It matters where you're going. It doesn't matter who you knew. It matters what you can do.
And we will bring a direct flight to Amritsar. We will rebuild the Canada that we know and love. A Canada where it doesn't matter if your name is Martin or Mohammed, Singh or Smith, Poilievre or Patel. The solution is obvious. End the deportations and allow them to apply just like everyone else to become permanent residents. That's what I'm calling for. Stop the deportations. Listen, we have a worker shortage in Canada. We have a demographic problem. Our population is too old. We need 700 young people. We need 700 young people to work in our factories, in our hospitals, in our shopping centers, driving truck. We need these workers in our country. It makes no sense for Canada to send them back when they could stay here and earn powerful paychecks and raise their families in peace. Shame on Justin Trudeau for trying to deport these wonderful students. Stop the deportations. The Conservatives will continue to fight for the students.
Many people thinking Conservative Party of Canada anti-immigration.
No, wrong.
Yeah, people say that.
No, Bob G, that's wrong.
Okay.
The Conservative Party is fighting for every Canadian, including our newcomers. They'll support lawful immigration. They'll make it faster to unite families, bring people to fill job openings, and rescue people from danger.
So when he's Prime Minister, he's going to bring families together. Conservative Party is not anti-immigration party. Support him.
Pro-Canadian, pro-immigration. Let's bring it home for Canada. Let's bring it home for everybody. The common sense of the common people united for our common home. Your home, my home, our home. Let's bring it home. Thank you.
So I want to expand express entry to include more occupations and more industries so that we can quickly attract newcomers to fill jobs that Canadians cannot fill. You have an employer who's put out an ad can't fill a job, they should be able to quickly bring in a skilled newcomer. And if that newcomer comes and succeeds here, the path to permanency should be a short one, very quick. Path to having permanent residency and then eventual citizenship should be very quick. Finally, I think we need an easier path for temporary foreign workers to go on to become permanent residents and bring their families.
So yeah, we're screwed either way because, we're screwed either way because if Carney wins, he's going to bring in no limits. And if Pierre wins, it sounds like he's beholden to a lot of these ethnic voting enclaves that he's going to keep them coming in. Even if he caps it at 250 a year, 150,000. That doesn't count refugees, doesn't count other visa holders, I'm sure. Plus the people that are already here, the millions that are already here. So it doesn't look like he's going to be deporting too many people. So yeah, we're screwed either way. I'm not worried about the election. I'm only curious who's going to win because it's the same result, like literally. People do not want to turn Canada into India. Nothing against India. They have a long history, I get it. But we don't want Canada to become India. And Pierre and Mark Carney are going to turn it into India. You watch. Next post. So yeah, I said the Conservative supporters are blinded by the fact that poll that matters is Ontario. Quebec is pro-Carney, so if the Conservatives don't win Ontario, it's over. It's going to be tough for them there, given Doug Ford teaming up with the Liberals. It's not fair, but that's the way it is. Yeah. No wonder they want to leave. Alberta wants to leave because their vote doesn't count. Sorry, it doesn't. There's not very many people in Alberta when you think about it. After Edmonton and Calgary, there's like the next biggest town. I mean, there's Fort Mac, but after that, the next biggest town is like 20,000 people. It's like compared to Ontario, it's very it doesn't weigh heavily into in deciding elections. Even the whole West, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Alberta, BC, it's like 100. They have all combined have less seats in Ontario alone. So Ontario is it. That's the way it is, I guess. This is the poll. So before the Liberals had like a 10, 11, 12 point lead. And it's weird how we're getting these daily polls. I don't think we had this before. But whatever. I don't know if they're true or not. I know I'm probably in the 1.4. Not that, I most identify with their policies, I guess. PPC, but I'm in the definite minority. But yeah, 5% around. Look, 5-6%. Is it 6%? No, 2, 4, about 5%. Shit, I can't do these decimals. But NDP, 8%. Ugh. So yeah, it's turning into a good horse race here. And like I said before, it's all about turnout. Whoever gets, you can say you want Pierre to win, but if you don't go vote, don't matter. And the boomers that are supporting the Liberals will vote. So I think the Conservatives know they have to get the vote out. They have to really bug people to go vote. So we'll see what tomorrow's poll brings. And then the debates are next week, so that should be interesting how that affects the polls. A lot to cover here. Let's keep going. Okay. Maxime Bernier, May 2022. The establishment parties unanimously voted in favor of a motion to expand permanent residency to millions of temporary foreign workers and foreign students in Canada. So this is like probably after COVID, where they all came in after COVID. I don't know why they came in during COVID, but or they stayed. I don't know. But yeah, permanent residency. All right. Next post. I saw this and I thought this is hilarious because you're either one or the other. So it's basically saying all my friends are turning into Nazis and I can't stand it anymore. I'm a 30-year-old white guy. I just want to chill, play games, and watch movies with my boys. But the older we get, the more of them out themselves to me as racist, homophobic, or just straight up Nazis. I'm not talking edgy humor. I'm talking about stopping our Mario Kart game to go on a 30-minute tirade about how race mixing is bad or that all gay and trans people are secretly child molesters. So he goes on to say how they weren't like this, they've changed, and he's the only one who hasn't acted like this, and he says how good people they are. That's how bad, like, the worst thing is, that's what makes it worse, is that they're actually good people. I was like, I don't think they're Nazis. I think you're just a crazy liberal retard, communist, brainwashed person. So I thought that was funny, because I know a few people that think I'm a Nazi, and I'm not, but they act like this guy, so yeah, I got a good chuckle out of that. Next post. All my friends are Nazis. Okay. Next post. Carney's starting to get some tough questions on the campaign trail. And to his credit, it's not like Kamala, who basically avoided questions, and when she answered, like, she just was horrible at answering the questions. So he's getting tested, at least, and maybe that's the plan. Maybe it's to make him look a little vulnerable. Like, just anyway, let's see what he says here.
PRC
this is today.
Seems to like you. Why do you think that China, the PRC, seems to like you? Why are they praising you?
I have absolutely no idea, and I have absolutely no idea, and I think well, I'll leave it at that.
You sit on a throne of lies.
I mean, what else? What can you say? All right, next post. There's Randy Hillier. They should make a meme out of this picture. Randy, you need your own meme. Like the Matthew McConaughey meme. It'll be a Canadian version of it. So Viva Free, and he's right. He says state-funded propaganda, even when they report on the government acting unconstitutionally, they do their best to make the victims of the constitutional abuse look bad. Why would you use this photograph? CTV News. So I thought that was funny. I mean, it said he smokes a cigarette before turning himself in. I mean, if I was turning myself in to the police, I might be smoking a cigarette too. So they're trying to tie it into the story, I could tell. And I said, this picture of Randy Hillier taking a haul off a smoke before turning himself in could be a great meme pic. It should be. Make it happen. Somebody. Next post. This is the thing I saw today. Pierre on the campaign trail getting asked questions, just like Carney. And he was asked about the crowd size. And I don't know. My opinion is this kind of answering. He does this all the time. He starts kind of going back and forth with the reporter instead of just giving an answer and shutting them up. You know, if it's a dumb question, it's easy to answer. Just give him the receipts. But he wants to kind of like be the smarmy guy, and like He thought the Apple thing worked, so he could do it all the time. I don't like it. I think it's kind of weird. Let's look at him. Let's listen to it.
You there? Okay.
So we like to.
How many people do you think we had last night?
Thousands.
Well, that's pretty obvious. I think you can be more precise than that.
I don't. I mean, the party said 10,000 registered. There's reports of 15. I really can't say.
One last question. When was the last time we had a rally that big in Canada?
I don't know. I've never been to one.
See, this kind of weird. He does this all the time. He was asked about when Donald Trump said there's only two genders, he was asked about it, and he started saying, what do you to the reporter, instead of answering the damn question. And I don't know what she's trying to ask him. It might have been a dumb question, but all you're doing is making yourself look like kind of a jackass, especially with women, because it's a woman you're talking like that to, and the women, they get annoyed when men talk to them like that. So gotta be careful, Pierre. I don't know why he does this, and the look on his face is kind of weird. Let's see what he's like. I don't know where he's going with this.
A political rally that big, I don't think.
You know a lot about politics. You're a very well-informed person.
Like the way he's talking right there, the way he says, "You know a lot about politics." She might be a total liberal hack. Okay, that's fine, but you're condescending towards her. All the viewers, the voters, potential voters see is a woman off camera that you're basically talking and trying to embarrass in front of everybody, in front of her colleagues, in front of everybody. It's not a good look.
I know that if there were a bigger rally than that, you would know about it. I think so. But I think it was pretty incredible. Were any of you there?
So, I don't know. That's weird delivery. I said, this gimmick's getting a bit old. Next post. The Canadian dream is dead. Nothing screams strongest economy in the G7 more than reducing Canadian standard of living to only being able to afford a modular home. But that's his plan. You'll own nothing. Yeah, like, I'm kind of confused, like how he wants to spend $25 billion to build modular homes. So it's like, so hang on a minute. Are we going to live in modular homes? It's like, I mean, I couldn't care less, to be honest. I don't mind, but it's like, why is the government building modular homes? And it's like, hang on, or is it going to be for all the millions of immigrants they keep bringing here? They're going to rack them and stack them? Let's see what he says here.
And modular housing, the way we build homes needs to change. Prefabricated and modular housing are the future.
Why? Oh, like, I don't understand where. I guess, whatever, but I'm more worried. I couldn't care less. Like, he might be right. Like, it might be more. You can maybe customize your own home, 3D print it. Who knows? And it comes in a modular prefab, and all you do is bolt it together. Great. I'm not worried about that. What I'm worried about is that he wants to make all these $25 billion in modular homes for refugees and just newcomers, which will basically destroy the country. So either way, we're screwed. We either get our 15-minute city with container package apartments, or we get overrun with the immigrant slums paid for by the government. So yeah, Carney, not the best future I'm seeing with this guy. And then here's another one. Toronto man charged in connection with sexual assault of 2 girls under 16 years old. Surprise, surprise. And I said deport. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there's plenty of homegrown Canadian perverts, but we got enough. We don't need any more. We'll take care of our own perverts here. We'll send them to jail and let the boys take care of them. All right. Ryan Garrettson again. Carney slumping in the polls. Better ramp up some Trump rhetoric. Mark Carney at 12:01 Eastern tonight. Canada's counter tariffs will come into force. There will be 25% tariffs on all non-compliant vehicles from U.S. and 25% tariffs on contents of whatever. Compliant vehicles and not. President Trump causes trade crisis in Canada is responding with purpose and with force. So yeah, a lot of people were freaked out with Trump, and they really scurried to liberals. But that might be lessening the effect, the Trump effect. People might not be as worried as they were initially. And that could be why the polls are tightening, like the Trump thing's wearing off. There's still people that are afraid of Trump. But there's people that maybe were at the start and now they're like, whatever, it's not going to. All right, next one. Carney. This is the tax haven thing's kind of maybe sticking. That's kind of, the Pierre was going on the attack today, saying he wants to close tax haven loopholes. Obviously, it's a jibe at Mark Carney, who's had to answer questions today about tax havens that he used with Brookfield, the company he was running. And you know, let's not be naive. All these rich guys use these tax havens, not just Mark Carney, not just liberals, not just conservatives. I'm not defending it, but it's not just Mark Carney using the tax havens. I'm sure Stephen Harper uses them, Zelensky, all of them. So, but it is a vulnerability that they really should have gone from the start. Like they tried saying he's like Trudeau or he's a carbon tax Carney. No, there's a lot of stuff they can go after him on this. Whether it sticks or not, that's another story. So I remember watching this today. We'll see
the rules
what
of
he
those
says about the tax. He was kind of watching is what he's saying here.
Hi, Mr. Carney. Abigail Beeman, CTV News. On tax havens in relation to Brookfield, you've said that you know how the world works. Should Canadians infer from that you wouldn't condemn the use of tax havens?
I very strong. I have a long career in the private sector. I have a longer career in the public sector. What's important is that we have a effective tax system, and that every company follows the rules of those tax to not just the letter but the spirit of those regulations, and we need to continue to refine our tax system to ensure that companies are paying their fair share of tax.
So yeah, he's definitely I don't know what the word is, but he's definitely like struggling to answer that one because he's vulnerable on this. He's vulnerable in a lot of things. So we'll see if this continues to stick or if it wears off. Okay, next post. I saw this. Since when do Canadian colleges allow religious celebrations? You can call me racist, but I don't think this is the purpose of an educational institution. Sheridan College. Let's see what this is.
ਉਹ ਵਾਸੀ ਪੂਰੀ ਆਨੰਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਹੱਕ ਸੱਚ ਤੇਰਾ ਦਾ ਰਾਹੀਏ ਇੱਕ ਮਾਲਾ ਤੇਗ ਸੀ ਹੱਥ ਦੂਜੇ ਉਹ ਸੰਤ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਿਪਾਹੀਏ ਉਹਨੇ ਕੌਮ ਸਜਾਈ ਸ਼ੇਰਾਂ ਜਈ ਵਿੱਚ ਰੱਖੇ ਕੋਈ ਪਰਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਜੋ ਪੁੱਤ ਨੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਦੇ ਉਹ ਕਦੇ ਮੌਤ ਤੋਂ ਡਰਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ.
So obviously, lots of Indian students at that college. Basically, that's what's keeping the college doors open there. So, Ontario colleges. All right. Here's another good graphic. What it looks like when you want to win an election based solely on keeping hatred and focus on Trump, Orange Man. So yeah, Canada's definitely. I think it's definitely political for sure. It's like the Liberals' only hope to win re-election, literally, is they probably hope. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be able to run the Trump thing until the election day. It might be starting to wear thin a little, especially if all these other countries are going and getting deals done. All right. I saw this today. Doug Ford, he's looking a little less. You remember the days when he was talking tough about Trump and saying he wants to inflict pain on the Americans and cut the electricity. It seems like his wings have been clipped. Again, he followed the same strategy that Carney's doing now, is to blame Trump on everything to win re-election. But since then, his wings have been a bit clipped. And he hasn't really started talk tough, and he's kind of deferred most of it to Carney. And my opinion, I'm going to make a prediction, is like, I think the reason he's acted all this way all these years with COVID, now this, and just being hand in hand with Trudeau and the Liberals, so either he's being blackmailed or he's bought off. And it looks like he's ready. I think they're going to dump him. I think he's served the purpose. He's only stale milk by now. Like, he's been there too long. He's not going to get any fresher. And they'll replace him probably, I'm predicting. So he'd be yanked by his globalist masters and served his purpose during COVID. Now he's a liability. I'm guessing Caroline Mulroney will replace him. We'll see. I could be wrong, but look at him. Does this look like a guy who's confident, just won a third whatever majority?
Report
he's talking and getting questioned about the green belt or the green belt scandal, where developers were going to get all this prime land.
Who decided to rush through a process to the housing
Before
minister,
he didn't know anything
because he thought it was going to be too politically sensitive, to a premier who directed his housing minister to open up the green belt after promising Ontarians that you would never touch the green belt. But Premier, okay. At what point do you take personal responsibility here, and how are people to have trust in your leadership?
Well, thank you for that, Colin, and I'm sure you just walked down the street from your home, that you have a home. But do you know how many people don't have a home, Colin? There's hundreds of thousands of people.
Anyway, he says, like, basically, he made Ontario so great that people all over the world wanted to come here to work, and that's why there's no homes, and he needs to build homes. Like, come on. Like, he wants mass immigration, and now it's like we have no homes, and it's like, oh. Anyway, we'll talk to you Friday and see what happens with all these guys. I think it's all going to happen. All right, have a nice night, everybody.